Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host, Tyler Britton. Once again, what are we doing? Jacob, no show, back-to-back weeks. I'm not sure what's going on here. I think the football bug might have gotten him, but we won on Saturday, Tyler. So I'm not sure why Jacob is not here. But we do have a season preview because guess what? The Cats tip off in about an hour and 45 minutes, Tyler, before the Nicholls State game. And boy, are we excited, especially coming off of what was a high of a football game on Saturday. Seems like momentum's starting to turn its way around here in Lexington. Tyler, how was the weekend? How'd the weekend treat you? And how excited are you for the Cats to actually tip it off and for these games to actually count?
Yeah, Cam, it was an exciting weekend. You know, you were there with me. We went down to a terrible city in Kentucky. We all know what it is. We got some merch from it, but kind of by default, we were doing a half marathon, so that was exciting for us. But it was down in that nasty city there. We're not going to mention the name. We're not going to give that gratitude here until later when we have to. But it was a fun weekend. It was great to sit on Saturday. We got to spend some time with your family. Meanwhile, while it's not playing on ESPN, we're sucked into your cell phone there watching that, watching the Kentucky Wildcats somehow pull out a win, against Auburn there. So that was exciting. It could have been better. They could have dominated on the field, but they were able to pull it through. That's what matters. So excited for that. But now excited for some basketball here as well.
Yep, and we're going to dive into the entire season preview. When Jake is feeling a little better and back to it, we'll have like an SEC preview as well. But guess what? It is time for the non-conference schedule to get going, and we start off with Nicholls today at 7 p.m., which by the time this podcast is out, will probably be about an hour until tip-off. Boy, did we wait till the last minute. But that's because, we're finally starting to get credentialed to some of these games. We went to the women's basketball game. We saw them play against Morehead State. Great experience. Tyler, I think it's the first time I've been able to take you inside of Memorial Coliseum. You've walked around it numerous times, parked at it a lot. I know that. And I know you've walked right past it a couple times going down to Broadway and, hitting up some of those bars down there. I know you go down there and you hit up some of those bars and you love it, but that's the only time you've been inside of Memorial Coliseum. What'd you think about the place?
Well, first of all, let's not pretend like you're not the one that also enjoys this experience down there. So let
Yeah, the experience of being credentialed for the Kentucky women's basketball game. Yes.
It was a really cool experience. I was talking to one of my friends down there before the game, and she was talking about some of the renovations going on the inside. So, hey, shout out to them. The press area was really nice for us. It was a really good view of the arena. We got to go down to the court, get some pregame pictures and video. We got to hang out after to do a press conference with both home and away teams. So, overall, cool experience. We enjoyed it. If you haven't watched the last clip, make sure to tune in and get a clip of that.
Yeah, we have already done our reaction video to that. It is already up on the YouTube and wherever you get your Cats Talk information. But guess what, Tyler? Kentucky men's tip it off at 7 p.m. today. I'm excited. That's really all I can say. It's finally basketball time in the Bluegrass. We had these preseason games. Obviously, the Purdue game, we were riding a high. Georgetown game, we're right back down to about where we started. I know some people are a little lower now. There's a range of emotions going. Which team did you believe? Did you believe more of the Purdue game or do you believe more of the Georgetown game? That's probably something we're going to dive a little bit more into, but starts tonight. What are you expecting to see tonight?
I think this is the first real game of the year. So I think this is a time where, Coach Pope here probably has his team together. He has his game plan ready. The players are excited. They're going to be up in Rupp Arena. Just much like the Purdue game where the fans were already excited, this is going to be the start of the season, so the fans are going to be double excited here. I do see a big win here for Kentucky coming into the season opener tonight at 7, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for these games to count because obviously, we wanted to celebrate that Purdue win, but at the end of the day, none of those stats count. Same good note on the positive side for the Georgetown game. It's like that game didn't happen. It didn't count. Doesn't matter from here out. Only for us it matters because we have to talk about it. But I'm super excited to see what comes from that Georgetown game. I think a lot of Kentucky's flaws got exposed, and I'm excited to see how Coach gets this team ready for Nicholls State and just shows up because I think this team is going to play with an edge and play a little bit more inspired because I think, we watched that Georgetown game together. I think they were a little, uninspired. I don't think they were really coming to play. I think they were coming down off of the high of beating the number one team in the nation in Purdue and didn't really put their best foot forward against Georgetown. So I'm looking forward to them getting back into Rupp Arena with what is a meaningful game in the fact that it actually counts.
I agree there, Cam. So we both got them down for a win tonight. Going into Friday, we'll be playing at Rupp Arena again. We'll be playing Valparaiso.
Valparaiso.
There you go. Another no-name school, another team that I think that will come into Rupp Arena and not really do too well against us. Again, I think we'll be right around the momentum. We'll have things down. We'll be less sloppy than we were against Georgetown here. So market 2 wins to start the season for me going into start of the season here.
Yeah, and I'm 100% on board here with you. But I do want to say a couple of things about Nichols, just to give the fan base a little bit of a preview of what to see tonight. I mean, this team averaged about 8 made threes per game. Wasn't a great team last year. 20-13 was their overall record. 13-7 in their conference. Scored about 74 per game. So I can expect this to be a high scoring game. I think the over under on FanDuel was right around like 150. Kentucky's mark was right around 96. So they're expecting Kentucky to put up a lot of points. Lately, that 3-point shot has not been falling. Obviously, Tyler, your guy, and Trent Noah, if we're going to hit that over, he's going to have to start making some of those shots. Cam Williams as well. And we got news before the game, no Jalen Lowe. I think that's out of an abundance of caution. And it looks like Denzel Aberdeen is going to be a game-time decision. So it might be the same group you ran out there for that Georgetown game. We'll have to see with Aberdeen once we get closer to game time. We're pretty close. I figured we might know this now, but we haven't gotten any information yet. So hopefully guys like Jasper Johnson, Otega Owe step up without the two point guards that you expect to be leading the bunch.
Absolutely. Cam, what do you have for the next game here against say it again, because I'm not going to be able to pronounce this team. I just know I can't.
That is Valparaiso, Tom. It is somewhere in Indiana, I believe. Valparaiso, Indiana. And, it's actually a traditional basketball school. They've made it the tournament a good amount of times, but Valparaiso was not good last year at all. I expect Kentucky to roll over them. Hopefully, I was looking earlier today at our credential request for this game. It's still labeled as pending. It's been pending for a while. We might be in for this one. Probably not, but we might be in for this one. So I got the Cats obviously starting off 2-0 here as well, just like you.
Well, after those first 2 games here, we got them 2-0 starting the season here. We're going down to Louisville November 11th, Tuesday, November 11th for an 8 p.m. game. Cats fans, if you can travel, absolutely make sure to do it. This is going to be a first test of the season. More so, I think it's because it's a rivalry. It's going to be an opportunity for us to go, kick some butt. Hopefully this is, we're also getting ready to play them in football too. So, but I have them down for a win here. I got the rivalry taking 1-0 lead this year for the win in the rivalry column here.
Yeah, just something I'll say. It's November 11th is this game. I mean, it's just way too early. Way too early in the season. This is normally right around Christmas time. Normally, getting a little bit more into the colder weather. This just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right at all. Playing it before the football game. The football game's not until the end of November. I don't like it. Tyler, I know you're kind of fresh and new to the rivalry, but you're always used to the game being a little bit later. Kentucky football usually getting the win. Last year, obviously, that did not go well, but we got to revenge it with a basketball win. This year, I don't know who's going to be healthy. Are we going to make sure Jalen Lowe's playing in that game? Denzel Aberdeen, this injury's lingered a full another week now, and he's still not 100% good to go. Obviously, we don't have Jaden Quaintance. And this Louisville team has looked good in the games that they've played. This is the prototypical year where you wish this game was actually in December because you might have Quaintance back, Lowe 100% healthy, Aberdeen 100% healthy. I feel like this is actually a bad time to play Louisville this early.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, we've cleaned up all our messes from the offseason, from the preseason here. You talked about it. Louisville definitely has the opportunity to disrupt tempo if they wanted to. If we get sloppy, I think that's the only thing that's going to hold us back. Though is we're getting a little sloppy with the shot, and we're not hitting things. We're reverting to fouls and free throws for Louisville. I think that can disrupt it, but I think this is a game that will show up. To your point, though, having this before the football game, and I know we've talked about this on the football pod a couple times, and we're hopefully we get that win there, but with it so early, it kind of sucks because this isn't the revenge game that we have now. Now it's like, okay, we're gonna get the game now, and then hope that our football team can keep that game high. So it sucks because I kind of want to back pocket this in case we need a revenge game, but it is what it is. We'll get the win here, and then we'll be back home against Eastern Illinois on Friday, November 14th at 7 p.m. Cam, who do you have winning this game?
Whoa, Tyler, are you not going to ask me who I had winning the Kentucky Louisville game? I never gave my prediction here.
I just figured you're going to have it marked as a win here.
Yeah, I'm going to, of course. L's down forever. Okay, yeah, on to the next one. It is. I will say it is definitely going to be a tough win to get. This Louisville team, what Pat Kelsey's actually building down there is actually it's shaping up to be a good team, especially with the ACC not being at the top of their what they normally are with that conference in basketball. I think they're going to have a good chance at winning that conference. And like I said, I wish we were playing them a little bit later in the year when we get back to full strength, but like I said, I will never pick those dirty birds.
Absolutely not. All right, like I said, we got November 14th. Eastern Illinois is coming into Rupp Arena. Who do you have?
Eastern Illinois, Southern Illinois, Western Illinois. I don't care. Cats by 90.
I'm in the same boat here. It doesn't matter if it was the state of Illinois. Just nope. Go ahead and get Cats.
Illinois had a good team last year. We saw how that worked. Sent them home and sent them packing. So I don't think Eastern Illinois is going to pose much of a problem either.
Absolutely not. So I got Eastern Illinois also losing as well. So we got the perfect start to this season here. Going into the next matchup here, another tough matchup, or at least another more competitive matchup. We're going to be playing Michigan State at home again, November 18th at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Look, I think Tom Izzo's experience in physical play can be a little bit of a problem with us, but I think overall, I think I have Kentucky still going to be winning here. As long as, again, imagining that we've cleaned up everything, I don't see this being a problem game.
Yeah, I'm there with you. The only thing that kind of concerns me is it does seem like Coach Pope loses a couple games a year that he probably shouldn't. I think back to that Ohio State game last year in which Ohio State did not have a good team and Kentucky was really never in that game. They controlled that game from start to finish and, Kentucky never even sniffed a win. All that being said, I do still think Kentucky beats Michigan State. I don't think this is one of Tom Izzo's best bunch.
I agree with you on that. I actually had that circled on here. The Ohio State game from last year kind of reminded me of that, but I just don't see us losing that game. To be transparently, we weren't supposed to lose that Ohio State game either, but to your point, it could be that trap game. Hopefully
that's kind of back to what I was saying. There's going to be a couple throughout this season that you look at it on paper, Kentucky shouldn't lose, and Michigan State's going to be a big athletic bunch of guys that usually Coach Pope's teams struggle with. Hopefully, with the roster construction that we built this year, with having a little bit more athleticism, a little bit more size, and a little bit more length, we can kind of keep up with those teams a little bit better because teams like Ohio State, who had that length and athleticism and guards who could really attack the paint. And I think that's kind of how we saw with Georgetown. That's why Georgetown posed such a problem because their guards were getting anywhere they wanted. Hopefully, with the roster construction we had this year, it'll make it a little bit easier for us to contend in those games and hopefully pull a lot more of them out.
Absolutely. After that game, we stay at Rupp Arena. We're at Rupp Arena for a while here. Friday, November 21st, we played Loyola. Who do you got winning that game?
Well, of course, I've got the Cats beating Loyola. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, Loyola's in, Chicago, I think, is where Loyola's at. And Sister Jean, rest in peace. I don't think she can help them win that game. I don't think she has enough willpower. Great lady. She lived to be, 106, something like that? Terrific run, and seems to be a blessing, but I don't think she's going to be able to help Loyola win this game.
I'm in agreement. This is another game that I'm going to chalk up here. I hate to do it. I hate to say it like that, but it's just another team that's probably not going to be in our stratosphere here. So I think even on a sluggish game, this is going to be a game that we win comfortably. So
I also just looked it up. That is the wrong Loyola. This is Loyola in Maryland. I didn't even know there was a Loyola in Maryland. So even double down on my point that I just said. Sister Jean is definitely not helping them.
After that, we're back in Rupp Arena again on November 26th, which is a Wednesday. We'll be playing Tennessee Tech. We'll have already played them in football. Now we're going to play them in basketball. Cam, what are you seeing for this game?
Well, the football team right now, I think they're 8-0, and they're putting up 40 points a game. That football team is pretty good. I don't know if I can say the same about the basketball team. Cats are going to win this one and win it by a lot. And obviously, I think the football team's going to win that game too. But just in case they don't, hopefully Pope, has stoops back a little bit and beats them by like 55, 60.
I'm in agreement. This is another game that is just going to be passed by on me. We do get a couple tougher games here back to back. First one, both at Rupp Arena, or excuse me, yeah, both at Rupp Arena here. First one's at North Carolina's coming to town, December 2nd. Cam, tell us a little bit about that game.
Yeah, this is a game I don't think North Carolina is going to be very good this year, and I really don't expect them to do much. I think with the way, they barely made the tournament last year. They had to be a part of the first four in just to get there. And I don't think, they got obviously Caleb Wilson, who Kentucky was really going after and really wanted. I don't trust Hubert Davis to do anything. I don't, since Roy Williams retired, that North Carolina program has really started to take its toll and really start to head downhill with Hubert Davis at the helm. I think there's probably a pretty good chance that he's let go of his duties at the end of the season. I think Kentucky will find a way to win this game, but I do think Caleb Wilson does go off, and you kind of wish that he was in the proper blue and white, not this baby blue nonsense.
Absolutely. I think that, the talent that we're going to bring to the table here is just going to be far superior. We have depth. We can exploit UNC's spacing with that. I think we can control the pace overall. The only thing that I think UNC might have is they have some experience in big games. So that's the only thing I can even think of. But overall, I just have us winning that game. I don't have any close. It is going to be a late night though. It's a 9:30 tip off. It's for a Tuesday night. It's a pretty late night start. So
yeah, and especially UK, North Carolina. Two blue bloods of the programs. That Rupp Arena is going to be electric. You mentioned at 9:30. The lower bowl, with the older contingent of fans that we have at Rupp Arena, might be a little quiet, but that upper bowl might be a couple cocktails in, and it's going to get loud in there, and it's going to be quite an environment. Hopefully, somehow we can find our way down there, because I'd love to see the proper royal blue and white take down that disgusting whatever you call it on Chapel Hill.
Absolutely. Cam, I misspoke. I said we're going to have back-to-back home games. The next game is at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee for Gonzaga. Tell us about that game. What do you have? What are your thoughts for it?
Well, first off, any chance I get to go to Nashville, I'm going. So I've looked at how to get credentials for this game. I don't know who's doing them. So I still have to figure that out on my own time. Mark Few obviously does a tremendous job out there with this program. I actually expect this to be the first loss of Kentucky's season. We barely got them last year with Ryan Nembhard. Obviously, we were facing a lot of injuries. That's when Kirk Kriisa went out for the season. I expect them to get a little revenge, and unfortunately, our struggles in Nashville, outside of just your and I struggles in Nashville, the struggles of this Kentucky basketball team continue. And this is the first one I have them dropping, and I think you're really pleased with the start of the season, but there's still a little bit of growing discomfort in the fan base of, man, we got to stop playing at Bridgestone Arena.
Yeah, I'm actually opposite with you on this one. I did ponder this one as well. Between this one and the Michigan State game, those were both games I thought could be a loss on the record. I ended up giving Kentucky the win here, but it was close for the reasons you mentioned. I just think that Gonzaga does have experience in those big games. I think they're strong inside. I think they will challenge Kentucky, but I just overall I think that we have the depth and athleticism to compete against them. I think we'll force turnovers. I think that we'll squeak by a win here in Nashville. Give me the Cats in a very close game. Okay.
Yeah, trust me. Whenever I'm picking against the Cats, I always want it to be wrong. So I would love for me to be right on this call.
After that, we're back in Rupp Arena for another game on December 9th against North Carolina Central, 7 p.m. tip-off. Cam, tell us about that game.
If we're beating North Carolina, I can't imagine North Carolina Central gives us much of a contest. And this is one of those final tune-up games before you start to get into the meat of the non-conference schedule. I think this is one where Pope really, really lets the team have it. We've mentioned, previously, when you go to the NCAA tournament, they look at games like this and see, oh, how much did you beat them by? That stuff actually matters now for seeding in the tournament. So I think this might be one of those games where Coach Pope runs it up.
I'm in agreement there, Cam. So I have North Carolina. Sorry, excuse me. I have UK winning that game as well. I think it's not going to be that close. So I think we're good with that one. Following that game, though, we play one of your favorite teams in the nation. We play Indiana at Rupp Arena, 7:30 tip off. Who do you got winning?
Yeah, and how polar opposites is this? Like Indiana football is good, and their basketball team still sucks. Like I don't know how this happened. Like this Indiana used to be a powerhouse basketball school. Granted, it's been like 40 years, so no one really cares anymore. Except for people in like your and my lifetime, we don't remember Indiana being good. It's just something that I've been told. It's like a fallacy almost. It's like just like a made up story that somebody's told me. Like I believe it, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. I don't think Pope loses at home to Indiana, and I don't think Indiana's really going to have a good team this year either. Each year they say they're rebuilding and Indiana basketball's back. It took so long for Indiana basketball to be back that they gave Kirk Cignetti that much money for the football program. So, I mean, good for them. I mean, the football program's doing well, but this basketball program is still in shambles. You just can't have anything nice in Indiana, anyways.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I think even if there is a rivalry, I think it's only competitive if you're going to Indiana. The fact that they're coming to a Rupp Arena, they're going to be dealing with our fan base. Our fan base is going to be amped up for it, especially if Indiana started off their season just as hot as we're planning us to start our season with. I just don't think there's a chance that Indiana's going to come in and have a good game. They're going to be, they're going to be listening to all the noise. They're going to be missing shots. They're just not going to be able to keep up. Give me the Cats by a lot, so I got them winning here.
Yeah, I mean that's also the time of year. You said I think that game was on December 13th. I mean, this is the time of year where you're kind of expecting Jaden Quaintance to start making his return back as well. So adding another, big elite rim protector and a guy who can rebound at an elite level, pass the ball with vision, getting him back around this time really helps because we start to face these higher levels of competition. Because I think what St. John's is next on this schedule.
Yep, 1 week from that game, I'll get a week off.
Yep. So, and Tyler, I'm going to beat you to the punch here. Coach P taking on his former player in Coach Pope. I think old Slick Rick's going to get the best of them. I really do. I think this is going to be one. And St. John's has got a really good team. They obviously brought in Ian Jackson from North Carolina, got in a great transfer class that they brought in. Obviously, Pitino's made his rounds for saying, he's not going to take high school guys at this moment. He's just going to build through the transfer portal. And I think St. John's is really building something with Rick Pitino. And I think this is one where Rick's going to show him, I might have taught you a lot, but I haven't taught you everything.
Yeah, you almost swung me there because I had the opposite here. I have them winning. UK is still undefeated in my books here. But this is a weird game, and I was thinking about it as you were talking. I didn't realize that it was a week gap in between. You're going from what was typically a 7:30, or I think the latest time for tip-off so far was a 6:30 tip-off, all the way to the 9:30 tip-off. This is the first game that tips off at 12:30. It's going to be in State Farm Arena. There will be a challenge there. I think there will be for sure. I don't see this being the first loss for Kentucky, though. I think Kentucky rolls through this. I think the players are ready. They have a week of rest. You get some players back. If anybody was tweaking before, everybody comes back to have a strong performance against St. John's. I hope that doesn't flip there. I'm hoping that St. John's doesn't get hot. Maybe they have a couple games in between. I don't know what's going on with their schedule there, but I do see UK winning that game.
Yeah, I will say, having that game in Atlanta is almost like having it in Rupp Arena. It's almost like, they call it Catlanta for a reason. Back when the SEC tournament used to be there, that place was filled with blue and white. There's a big contingent of Kentucky fans down in Atlanta, and I expect State Farm Arena to be packed out in blue and white, and I expect it to be probably one of the best games of the year, if not the best game of the year, because these are two teams that you're projecting to be, top 3 seeds in the SEC tournament. Obviously, you've got the headlines of Coach Pitino coaching against his former player, guy who was a captain on a national championship team of his. It's going to be a really cool environment. Hopefully, I like your prediction a lot more. I hope your prediction is the right one, but I just got a feeling, old Slick Rick's got a few cards under the table.
Absolutely. Well, we go into our last game here of non-conference play, Cam. Tuesday, December 23rd. Bellarmine's coming to Rupp Arena. Tell us about that game.
Yeah, it's Bellarmine. This is a smaller school in Louisville. It's not Bellarmine, but you mentioned it. We don't like the city of Louisville, so we don't like anything in it. But I mean, Bellarmine has been building a nice program down there, and they, are starting to grow more and more competitive in games like this. But all that being said, this is the Wildcats' last tune-up game. Obviously, you just had a giant emotional game, especially emotional for Mark Pope in the game before against St. John's, and you mentioned it. We're hopping right into conference play right after that. Not worried about a trap game here. Kentucky outclasses them in every aspect, and I expect Kentucky to win by a lot.
I'm in the same boat here. I went undefeated for non-conference play, so I have them beating Bellarmine at home to finish up the non-conference play before they get into conference play on Saturday, January 3rd, the start of the new year. They'll be going to Alabama to face Alabama at 1 p.m. Tip-off on ESPN. This is a big matchup. This is actually going to be my first loss of the season. I think that Alabama is going to have some veteran guards that we have to compete against. They're going to have some offensive weapons. I think they could outpace Kentucky a little bit. It's going to be a close matchup. I think Pope and the team, they get a little bit shaken on this game here. I think they lose close in a tight matchup in Alabama.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted on this one. Like, there's parts of me that just say we don't match up well against Alabama because it is a scheme that's like ours. But then there's also parts of me that realize like they lost two heavy presences in their team last year. And obviously we stole Mo Diabate, who was kind of the Ortega stopper last year, which is why we couldn't get a lot of our offense started. But then again, like, this is your first real road test. It's going to be in Tuscaloosa. I think I'm with you, Tyler. I do think the Cats will fall in this one and drop to 0-1 conference play.
Following that, on Wednesday, January 3rd, 7 p.m. tip-off, we will be playing back at Rupp Arena against Missouri. Tell us about that game, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a game I have the Cats winning. I don't think Missouri is going to be as good as they were last year. Missouri started off real hot last year and then kind of faded towards the end of once they got into conference play, really started to fade. I expect Kentucky to win this game and get to 500 in the conference.
I agree. This is another game that I have winning. I don't see Missouri as being a big threat in the SEC this year, so I will take the crown on this one and go 1-1 in SEC play. Following that, January 10th.
Take the crown. What are we, like, sponsored by DraftKings now? Did you get a sponsorship without me knowing? Isn't like the crown is yours, or are we doing like Crown Royal? Do we get some advertisement that I didn't know about?
Hey, let me cook. All right, let me cook. Following Missouri game, that we'll be staying at Rupp Arena on Saturday, January 10th against Mississippi State. Cam, tell us about that game.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State is just not in a great spot with their basketball program right now. Not in a great spot with their football program either. Unfortunately, they have taken over Kentucky in their football program at the moment. But let's not talk about that. Let's stick on the basketball train here. I got Kentucky winning this game, and this is probably their first double-digit win in SEC play.
I agree. I think Kentucky's offensive firepower here is just going to be overwhelmingly dominant against Mississippi State. So I see this as a game that's going to be, I don't want to say an easy win for SEC play, but it's going to be a convincing win for sure.
No, I mean, this SEC's too good and too loaded to be. I don't think it'll be as good as last year. I know there's some people that are kind of pushing back on that. I mean, we set the NCAA record for the amount of teams that went to the NCAA tournament. So I don't think it'll be as good as it was last year, but I do think this SEC will still be top to bottom a loaded conference and still the best conference in college basketball. So I don't think there will be any games where you look at it and you're like, oh, that was an easy one. We kind of have the night off. I don't think we're at that point in the SEC. With all that being said, I think LSU is the very next game. If there was going to be one, that's probably the one that I would call it. And I'll go ahead and give you my prediction here, Tyler. I think Kentucky wins. And you look at back-to-back SEC wins by 10-plus points, and you're really starting to feel good about where this team's going. Hopefully, knock on wood, wherever it's at, wherever I got some wood in here. Everybody's healthy. Jaden Clayton's is back. He's starting to get to 100%. And, this team's really starting to cook with grease.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat here. I have Kentucky winning. Kind of going back to previous references, I feel like a broken record player at this point. I just think that Kentucky has too much talent.
Yeah, probably.
Too much talent on this team. We're going to be going against LSU. I even on the road, maybe there's a little bit of a shakeup because we're on the road again, but I don't see that really being a factor too much against LSU.
Nope, I don't either. I think this is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the conference, and I expect Kentucky to handle business. I don't even think this is one of those ones where you could look at it and be like, Georgia last year where we just lost, where we got outclassed athleticism. I don't even think this could be one of those. Hopefully, this doesn't get clipped in 3 months and I look like an idiot. But if somebody wants to, go ahead.
For sure. Let's not get there. But after LSU, we'll stay on the road here. We go from LSU to Tennessee here, Knoxville, Tennessee. 12 p.m. tip off Saturday, January 17th. I have this as my second loss here. I back-to-back road games. I don't know how we're going to fare on the road. Multiple games in a row. Tennessee, I think they have strong forwards. They play some physical defense. I just don't know if we're going to get this one through. I have this as my second loss of the season for Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on you on this one. I think this may be the first time where I pick a win, where you pick a loss. It just seems like we don't lose in Knoxville when it comes to basketball. Now, football, different, very different. But it seems like we don't lose in Knoxville. I expect, obviously, Nate Ament, who Kentucky really pursued and really wanted, chose Tennessee and Rick Barnes. I do expect Kentucky to win this game. I expect Nate Ament to have a big game and get his numbers. But I'd love to see that matchup between Ament and Jaden Quaintance. I think that will be one of the better matchups we get throughout the season. But I do think Kentucky wins this game. I think there's just too much depth for a Rick Barnes team to be able to handle, and I think that's where Kentucky gets them in this one.
On Wednesday, January 21st, the next game up, we're going to be playing at Rupp Arena. We're finally coming back home. Big Blue Nation's going to be in the house, packed up. 7 p.m. tip-off. We're playing Texas. Tell us about the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they lost Trey Johnson, which was the reason we lost to them last year. I mean, ended up being a lottery pick. I didn't see Texas reload, and they have former Xavier coach. I mean, come on, this guy. I don't know how he didn't get fired at Xavier. So the fact that he got a raise over at Texas is crazy to me. I really don't understand it. I got Kentucky winning this game by a lot. And I think Texas with that hire is going to be in shambles going forward. But they do have a lot of donor money, and they are really showing that from what their transfer portal ads were this year. So maybe they can get it done. But I think Kentucky will win this game, and it'll be pretty easily.
Yeah, anytime I hear anything from Xavier, it just turns out to be bad news. So I'm out on that. If it was from UC, maybe. But, I mean, anything from Xavier, I just going to go ahead and kick that out. So I have this as a horns down situation. Texas not going to get the win here. So we'll get that win here. Following, we'll stay at Rupp Arena Saturday, January 24th for Ole Miss coming in town on 12 p.m. tip-off. Tell us about that game there.
This is one where this is fully I don't want to say an emotional pick, but obviously you have Travis Perry who leaves to go to Ole Miss. Obviously, I think Kentucky wanted him to stick around, but I think he kind of saw the writing on the wall that he was going to be the 12th, 13th guy on this team. Decided to go with Chris Beard down to Ole Miss, the program who really heavily recruited him out of high school. For some reason, this just has the making of that one game that Pope loses that he shouldn't. And somehow Travis Perry, hits 4 or 5 threes and kind of comes back to Kentucky and asserts a little dominance. I'm not saying he's going off by any means, but finds a way to be the reason that Ole Miss pulls out this win. And this is one of those wins where I look at it and I'm like, man, you really should have got that one. And it'll be one where in the moment, if it does happen, I'll be very critical because I don't think this Ole Miss team is that deep, and I don't think it's one of Chris Beard's better ones. But I do love him as a coach, and I think just the storylines of everything that's going into it will have those Ole Miss players playing a little bit above their head.
I think you kind of made the point for me. I think that Ole Miss's team is just not going to be the same as it was in the past, and I think they lost out in some key production there for it. I just don't see this as a game that in Rupp Arena that the Cats lose. And to your point, there's always a chance for an L there. You always have the opportunity to have a bad game where you just miss every shot and you don't do well. But I just don't see this happening against Ole Miss. I'm going to have us give them the win here before we play on the road against Vanderbilt on January 27th, 9 p.m. tip-off. Tell us about that game, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, 9 p.m. tip-off on a Tuesday, that's kind of criminal action, especially down in Nashville. Road. Hopefully the fellas get to stay after, have a little fun after that win, because I don't expect Vandy to be all that good this year. I expect them to be fighting on the edge of making the NCAA tournament. No, they'll probably be a little bit better than that. They'll probably make the tournament, but I do think this is a game that Kentucky will win, and we start to solve some of our winning in Nashville problems.
I see this as a rebuild year for Vandy, so I'm not gonna put too much weight on their shoulders. Hope again, always going back to let's not make this a trap game, but 9 p.m. in Nashville. I think the fellas are going to be excited. Um, let's go ahead and get the win there. We'll redeem ourselves from last year's football mistake, and we'll continue to go win down in Nashville.
And at that time, it might be this year's football mistake. So we'll really have to see and wait for that one.
I wasn't going to speak it out loud, but I mean, there's a potential chance. So,
Yes.
we'll go get the win down there. Following that, though, big matchup because we're going to have this one circled because we kind of blew it last year. We're going on the road to Arkansas to face our biggest foe here. Tell us about this game, Cam. I know this means a lot to you.
Yeah, it does, and it's going to pain me to say it. It really is. It's going to pain me to say it, but down Bud Walton Arena down there, it's going to be mayhem. This is probably going to be the craziest environment we're going to play in. Not because Arkansas fans are good. I mean, Arkansas fans suck. I think they know that. Any Arkansas people who are listening to this, you suck. Thanks, John Tyson, for getting us out of that buyout because, Tyler, you and I both know we're looking at another buyout with Coach Stoops, and they really helped us get out of that one. But keeping it on football here, I actually do think Arkansas wins this game. Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff are both two really young and I think are going to be very good guards. I think this is one of Calipari's better recruiting classes he's had in quite some time, and I actually expect them to be better this year than they were last year. I know it's not saying much, even though they ended up going to the Sweet 16, but I expect them to have a lot better regular season. And we kind of saw it with that game against Georgetown. Obviously, I might have a little bit of recency bias with just seeing how good those guards were for Georgetown and how much they affected the game. I expect Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff to kind of do the same. And I think this comes to our third loss in the conference, which I would hate, by the way. I just want to throw it out there. I would be sick because you know how much money I spent on those tickets to make sure I was at this game last year and to be disappointed like I was. And that was a way worse Arkansas team. And, it's shambles is what I was in. Shambles. I'm in shambles now thinking about it, this potentially being a loss. But here we are. Hopefully Coach Pope can prove me wrong. And hopefully he can get his lick back going to Arkansas winning that game.
Yeah, I heard John Calipari ruined a lot of things for you, throughout the last few years. And
so many things.
I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to line it up for us. We play in Nashville on Tuesday, the week before, or, during the week.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to win that game. And then we're going to go to Arkansas. And we're going to win there because we just won in Nashville. I just see that somehow correlates. I don't know how. Maybe the SEC.
I was going to ask, how is that the correlation? But
I'm thinking of our own lives and how we always went down there. And now that John Calipari's out and, it's been one full year removed now, somehow I just see the stars aligning, something with Nashville before. Now they're going to Arkansas. We're just going to win. It's going to be the game after Nashville. We're going to win that game. To your point, I think it's going to be a tough matchup. We're going to be playing in Arkansas. That's going to be tough. I think that, Kentucky, we owe them one. One is Big Blue Nation. Two is Mark Pope, taking on a second-year team now. Now he has his culture embedded with the team. He has his own players embedded with the team. I see this as a revenge game from Kentucky basketball and taking the win here on the road at Bud Walton Arena.
Yeah, and trust me, if Kentucky loses this game, it's going to be a big talking point. I mean, we've already kind of heard, even after the Georgetown game, people talking about the money that was spent on the roster and how we spent over $20 million on this roster. If Calipari got less money than that in Arkansas, a program who traditionally doesn't care about basketball, or at least over the past 15 years, like since the Nolan Richardson days, that'll be a big talking point, and that'll actually get a lot of fans pretty upset. Yeah,
hopefully we don't come down to that. I hope it's a big game.
I will be sick to my stomach. I will be absolutely disheveled, and you'll see a man who. I might be on the verge of tears, so we'll see.
To be fair, I think obviously this is a big game because it's Arkansas and it's John Calipari, but I think anytime we have a loss this year, people are going to be talking about the amount of money we're putting into our roster. Which,
absolutely.
Right, daylight. Anyway, following Arkansas, we're going to be back home, Rupp Arena, Wednesday, February 4th, against a newer addition to the SEC. Oklahoma is coming in. 7 p.m. tip-off. Cam, tell us about the game.
Tyler, I know you remember that Oklahoma game last year in the SEC tournament where Otega Oweh just took over. He did it both in the regular season and in the SEC tournament. BG has a rivalry with his time at Oklahoma State, not like in Oklahoma. Obviously, Otega Oweh spent 2 years at Oklahoma. Cats win this game. They lost a lottery pick guard as well. Didn't really reload as much as I think they would like. I think Otega continues owning the state of Oklahoma and might probably going to purchase some real estate out there after this as well.
Yeah, Cam, I see I see Oklahoma still transitioning into the SEC when it comes to basketball. I mean, we already talked about it off air. SEC basketball is just far superior than anything Oklahoma's been part of for decades here. So, I see this as being a little bit too big of a matchup still for Oklahoma to overcome. I see UK coming out with the win.
Yeah, and it was Jeremiah Fears. For whatever reason, I could not remember his name. Jeremiah Fears was a guard who now with the Pelicans. I mean, he was terrific. Kept them in that game, and they don't have him back. I don't expect him to get better with losing a lottery pick guard, obviously.
Yeah. After that game, Tennessee comes up to us now, where they're going to be playing us on February 7th, Rupp Arena, 8:30 tip-off. Cam, tell us about who you have for this game.
Yep, I think we continue the regular season sweep. I think you beat them in Knoxville, you beat them in Lexington just like last year. Let's just hope that third game doesn't happen and you lose in the NCAA tournament to them. But I just think this team is a lot better than what Rick Barnes has down there, unless Nate Ament is just that dude, which, I mean, there's times where he's looked like that early in the season. Obviously, I think they're 1-0. I think they've already beat Mercer when it comes to, their start of the season. I'm pretty sure they started last night. I think the Cats will win this game. I think 2-0 against Tennessee. And, I mean, maybe Nate Ament looks back and he's like, I maybe should have went to Kentucky instead.
I have them splitting. So I had them losing on the road in Tennessee. I have Tennessee come to Rupp Arena and losing to Kentucky. So I have them splitting 1-1, but for the same reasons. I do see us bouncing back and having a good game against Tennessee. Now, here's a challenge that I had. We're going to be playing at Florida on February 14th, Valentine's Day, my mom's birthday. I would love to have a Kentucky win, even though my mom has no affiliation with Kentucky whatsoever.
I was about to say, is Mama Britton really needing a Kentucky win? I hope so. Hopefully we've convinced her over to the Big Blue bandwagon. But, boy, I really hope that Coach Pope and the fellas can get a win for Mama Britton on Valentine's Day and her birthday.
No, I think she's a Wisconsin fan. Actually, she always tells it because she knows.
Don't say that on here. Don't say that on here, Mama Britton. All the respect that I've had for you is out of the window now. Great lady, but your choice in men's basketball teams could not be worse on this channel. People in 2015 still hate to hear the name Wisconsin, and we have a real hatred for Wisconsin Badgers fans around Big Blue Nation. So, Tyler, for the love of God, please never say that again, or all of Cats Talk Podcast Nation will dislike the Britton family.
Hang on a second. It's still my mom. It's still her birthday. Leave her alone. She has nothing to do with Kentucky.
I agree. I'm just saying. I'm trying to protect Mama Britton by you not saying that on these airwaves.
But I am pretty sure she started rooting for. Well, I think she has some family in the area too. But I think she does it more so to get underneath my skin. So that is what it is. But I still see this being a big matchup for Kentucky. But I do huge matchup. I mean, this is the team that I think is supposed to be right there with us when the experts are projecting who's going to be winning the SEC. Florida is supposed to be competitive. I don't have us winning this game. We're going to be on the road. It's going to be a tough matchup, tough environment. Valentine's Day, someone's going to be thinking about their girlfriend. Brandon Garrison's going to be thinking about his family, and something's going to fall apart. We don't get this win. The strong front court for Florida here is just going to be too dominant for us to handle. So we're not going to. I don't see us getting this win here on the 14th of February.
Yeah, I'm actually in complete agreement with you there. I mean, Florida's actually already 0-1. I mean, they lost to Arizona to start their season last night. Boogie Fland, who was one of their big transfer portal additions along with Xavier Lee, either one really looked all that good yesterday. Obviously, first game jitters, they're both in a new program, not a bigger spotlight for Boogie Fland. He's obviously coming from Arkansas, but for Xavier Lee coming from, I think, Princeton, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Princeton. Coming over from Princeton, I think Kentucky will lose this game, though. I think Florida will really start to find their footing. And, I mean, how can you – they basically just reloaded from last year after winning the national championship. The only thing they lost was Denzel Aberdeen. So, hopefully, at least for Denzel, he has a good game down there. But I do agree with you. I do think this is a game that the Cats will lose. But, maybe a little spoiler alert. I think I have them split in this series.
I mean, if we can somehow pull off the win here, that'd be awesome. I think that would mean a lot for the program here, and I think this will shut a lot of people's mouths about the questions and the trips that you hear about how much money we spent in the offseason on players for our team. But this will be a huge game. But if we can pull off the win, great. I just don't see it happening the first round here. Following that, though, we are back in Rupp Arena on February 17th. It'll be a Tuesday. We'll be playing Georgia. Again, another late game, 9 p.m. tip-off here. I'm actually kind of tired of all these 9 p.m. Tuesday games.
Grandpa.
I don't want to be up that late. I don't think the players want to be up that late. Supposedly, the student athletes, so they should be going to class on Wednesday morning. I don't know if they really are. We'll see. But, I mean,
The players don't care about these games being that late. That's just you, old man, trying to make it easier on yourself.
I mean, it's a legitimate argument. They're student athletes, Cam. I mean, you were a student athlete. I was a student athlete. We both went to school the next day. What are these athletes doing, staying up out till midnight playing basketball? What the heck? I have us winning this game. This is going to be a game where I think Georgia might have a couple runs here and there, but I think Kentucky will handle this game pretty nicely in Rupp Arena.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of, I think, Kentucky's worst losses last year when it comes to just SEC play. I think there's be a little bit of revenge. Now Pope has a little bit of scouting on what Georgia's going to want to do and what Mike White's doing down there in Athens. Tyler, a place that we like. We like Athens down there. But like you said, this game's going to be in Lexington, and I think the Cats will handle business here and send the Bulldogs home a little sad and frustrated.
Yeah, for sure. Following that game, we will go back down the road. We'll be heading close to Georgia, but not necessarily in Georgia. It'll be in Auburn, Alabama. We will be playing them at 8:30 on a Saturday. See, that makes sense. It's a Saturday night. See, we play basketball Saturday night, 8:30. That makes sense to me. Not
Enough
Tuesday
whining,
night.
old man. Enough whining. Watch the games.
This is a problem game for me. I had this one circled. I think Auburn's talented. I think that they have good coaching there. I don't see us winning this game. I don't see us winning this game. This is going to be another loss for me of the season. I kind of see, we had a win streak there. I had us losing against Alabama, Tennessee. We had a little bit of a gap there. We lose against Florida. Now we lose against Auburn here. Kind of been a little bit of a shakeup, but again, more competition as we get closer to the end here. So it's a tough game as we start to wrap up the season here for me.
Yeah, I'm going to completely disagree with you. Outside of them bringing back Tahad Pettiford, they lost Janiah Broome and Chad Baker-Mazara. And obviously Bruce Pearl retired. He's now he's an analyst, I think, for TBS. And just the nepotism hire of just giving it to his son who was already on the staff. Stephen Pearl may be a great coach, but I don't think he's going to hit the ground running year one. And I think this is a game that Kentucky will win. And, we got embarrassed when we played Auburn last year. And I think this will be one we get back.
Absolutely. Well, following that, we will be on the road again. We'll be going just a little bit northeast here to South Carolina. 7 p.m. tip-off on a Tuesday. See, they can do it at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. I want to keep bringing this up until they change the times. 7 p.m. on Tuesday makes a lot more sense to me. We're going to get the win because of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's because of that. I think it's just because South Carolina as a program right now is struggling to get the basketball and football. I mean, even though they waxed us, they're struggling there too. I think this is a game Kentucky wins and wins handily, and I don't really think there's even too much to talk about it. Obviously, once we get there, we'll talk more about it, but as of right now, I mean, that's 4 months away, and I think Kentucky will handle them pretty easily.
Absolutely. Next game up, we head back home to Rupp Arena. We will be playing Vandy. We beat them down in Nashville before, is what we predicted. I have them losing again in Rupp Arena at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
Yep, I agree with you here. I think we take the series sweep from Vandy, beat them, and I don't think this one. I think this one will be a little closer. I think they'll have a nice little scouting advantage coming back and playing us again. But I do think we just outclass them as athletes, and I think I think this is really where you start to see Kentucky's defense shine is towards this latter part of the year, and hopefully, I've already mentioned it, might be beating a dead horse here, but start getting everybody healthy, and Jaden Quaintance is really starting to look like a lottery pick, if not a top 5 pick at this point.
I do think that there's going to be momentum here as we head into March. Speaking of which, on March 3rd, Tuesday, at Reed Arena, we'll be playing Texas A&M. 7 p.m. tip-off on a Tuesday again. I have us winning this game here. That's going to be it's going to be. I think we just have too much talent to lose against A&M. This is going to be a game with that momentum we are talking about. We're going to be hitting those 3 balls. We're not going to be turning the ball over as much. We're going to be stealing the ball a lot. I think this is just a game that will beat Texas A&M on the road.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. I do think this Texas A&M team will be pretty solid, but I mean, they did lose their senior guard. I can't remember his name, who felt like he was in at A&M for 45 years, maybe longer. He's fine. He's finally gone, but I do think A&M, obviously, they'll have a new coach. It'll be our first time going to face him. I do think Kentucky wins this game, though, and I think they really ride a winning streak to go into Nashville and head to the SEC tournament.
Yep, and that leads us to our final game. And Cam, you already kind of gave your preview for this game before. Tell us about what you see for the SEC regular season matchup here against Florida at Rupp Arena, 4 p.m. Saturday, March 7th.
Yeah, I mean, this is the conclusion of the regular season, and I kind of just mentioned it there. I have them riding a bit of a winning streak going into into the conference tournament and obviously into the NCAA tournament. I think they beat Florida. They beat Florida at home last year, with the injuries that they were dealing with. Put up 106 points in that game. Tyler, we watched that game together. That was one of the most fun times I've had watching a basketball game. That was incredible. And I think we get our revenge back from losing to them early in the season. And we start to see, I'm hoping, now granted, I don't know, I'd have to look at Florida's schedule a little bit closer. Hopefully this is a game that could decide the SEC. I mean, this might be a game where you're looking at the 1 and 2 seed for the tournament to see who wins this one. And I think the Cats would come out on top and beat Florida.
I'm actually in complete agreement with everything except for the outcome of the game. I think this is going to be a game that decides the SEC tournament and positioning. But I don't see us winning the game. I think that Florida actually sweeps us. It's the only time we get swept in a series this year going into the SEC tournament. It's going to suck because it's going to be the end of the year, but I also think that little sneak peek for me. I think if for going into the SEC tournament, this does light a fire underneath our butts and gets Kentucky to play really well for the SEC tournament as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're wrong on the fact that we get swept by Florida. I think we're gonna split it. I think if you found a way to beat the national champions on your home floor last year, I don't think they got better. I think they just kind of tried to replace it. But I mean, how do you replace Walter Clayton Jr.? I don't think they're going to take a step forward this year. I do think they will have a really good team, but I think at this point Kentucky will really be hitting their stride and really humming, and I think that's why they'll beat Florida on this one.
We'll find out. I mean, this is it's going to be a long season here. I mean, we're talking it November 4th, and this is going to be March 7th. Teams are going to play, players are going to play, teams are going to evolve. It's going to be a really cool year. We're already excited for Big Blue Nation to come out and support the Cats. Cam, what do you see as the season here? I have my record finishing 26-5, finishing second in the SEC behind Florida. What do you have going on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I have us finishing 25-6. Obviously, you had them going perfect in the non-conference schedule. I have them having 2 losses in that one. I did have them playing a little bit better in SEC play. I'm going 14-4. You have them going 13-5. I think we do adjust to the SEC a little bit better this year, but I do think there are still going to be a couple of those losses throughout the season that you look at them, you're like, man, shouldn't have lost that one at the end of the year. But I mean, look at Pope's time back in BYU. Look at the time last year, like with the Ohio State game and the Georgia game. There's just those games that for whatever reason the guys don't respond too well. And for that reason, I think Kentucky goes 25-6, which obviously is still going to be a really good record. Probably going to get you a 1 or a 2 seed. And like I said, I'd have to look at Florida's schedule to predict whether or not they're going to win the SEC. But I think Kentucky will be right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, just based off what they did against Purdue, I thought that was really cool to see. They dominated that game. It's an exhibition game, but you still perform the way that we thought they would perform, and with the places people they had on the floor, they all did their thing. They all put up numbers and stats, and the scoreboard was what it was. But then seeing what they did in Georgetown, that's what worried me. So the Purdue one that let me know, like, hey, against non-conference play, I think that we should be able to play pretty well against them. There are some tough games in there, but I think that we should be able to play well against those. What we did against Georgetown, that's what I worry about against SEC teams, because if we struggle, and we just so happen to struggle against any of those teams, those are the games that I feel like that will bite us in the butt, regardless of who it is. So that's why I have a few losses in the SEC play, a few more losses in the SEC play versus the non-conference play. But overall, I just do see us having a good season. Second place in the SEC is not bad. Obviously, hoping for first, but prediction wise, I think that's pretty good. And then SEC tournament and March Madness, I think we turn it up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're there. I hope I'm there with you. I'll wait to give our full predictions on that once we get a little closer to SEC play. I think that'll be obviously we got to see this team get to full strength. Where right now we've mentioned that Jalen Lowe's not playing this game. Denzel Aberdeen's a game time decision, and obviously you have no Jaden Quaintance. So before I make my calls on whether or not I think this team's going to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, I'll wait till SEC play. But Tyler, do you have anything to let Big Blue Nation know before? I mean, we're down to about 50 minutes until tip off of the first game. Anything to get BBN excited? Anything that you want to say? Any big declaration for the 2025-2026 season you want to make? Now is your time. The floor is yours.
Absolutely, Cam. I mean, he let me down last week when he played. Trent Noah looked sloppy as hell out there on the courts. He's coming back to Rupp Arena. He's going to have a big game here. He's going to start off the season strong. We're going to have a great season. Big Blue Nation, if you're not in those seats, Cam and I will be. So you got to be there. You got to be there. Enjoy the season here. It's going to be a fun ride. It's year 2 of Mark Pope here. We got some players coming back. We got new players coming in. We got a lot of money spent. We need your support all year round so that way we can make a big push. First place, second place, doesn't matter. SEC tournament's going to be there, but we need you guys there the entire way for this team to play well. So be there. Let's have a good season.
All right, Tyler. One last thing. I'm going to give my MVP pick while you think about yours for this game. Obviously, we both have Kentucky winning this game. I have Kentucky winning. I think the spread is 30.5 when I last checked. I've got Kentucky getting across the triple digits in this one. I think they're going to win 102-64 in this one. And I think Kentucky wins pretty easily. And I've got Mohamed Diabate being my MVP. I think he flirts with a triple-double, has about 12 points, right around 9 rebounds, maybe like 7 or so assists. Starts to get you where you're thinking about the triple-double, but doesn't quite get close enough to get it.
I'm going to use a cop-out, and I hope that doesn't come off like a cop-out, but he's been just dominant since last year going into this year. I have nothing. I think this is the game where, Otega Owe just shows up, and he's the leader on the court that we all need. He just puts up the numbers that he needs to put up. We're going to get the win. He's going to keep the team on the back. I just always feel like he's always around the ball whenever he needs to be. And for the first game, call it a cop-out, but he's my game MVP for this game.
Yep, I love it. All right, BBN, we are about 45 minutes away from tip-off of the 2025 season. Highly anticipated year 2 of Mark Pope's era as the head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats starts tonight. Follow the Cats Talk podcast on Instagram, on X, on TikTok. We're everywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're everywhere. Tyler, it's finally basketball season. Finally time for some positivity. Signing out, Big Blue Nation. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.